I'm 61 years old. I've lived my life with grace and quiet dignity. I was always polite, careful, never the type to make waves. Love had become a distant memory for me, like a story I once heard long ago, but could no longer recall the ending to. My husband passed away 5 years ago. Since then, I've filled my days with the familiar. My part-time job at the agency, tending my garden, sipping tea in the evenings while watching old black and white movies. I thought those feelings of being truly seen were behind me for good. But something happened a few weeks ago. Something that shook me in a way I never expected. And even now, just thinking about it still sends a strange, quiet ripple through me. It had been raining that evening. The kind of gentle, rhythmic rain that makes the world pause, that turns everything hushed and reflective. I stayed late at the office, finishing some reports my team had scrambled last minute. My boss, Roland Blake, had already left for a dinner meeting, but he called to let me know his son would be stopping by soon to give me a ride home. I almost said no. I didn't want to be a bother, least of all to Adrian, his 20-something son. I'd only seen him a few times before at company functions. But by the time I stepped out into the wind, my umbrella trembling in my grip, I saw Adrian's black SUV pull up in front of the building. He jogged over, all lean energy and calm confidence. His hoodie soaked at the shoulders. "Hey, Miss Alden," he said with a warm smile. "You hopping in?" Smiled back. "It's Diane. And thank you, that's very kind of you." He held the door open and I slid into the passenger seat. The inside of the car was warm, smelled like leather and something citrusy. Gum, maybe cologne. He adjusted the mirrors and pulled out smoothly onto the road. One hand relaxed on the wheel. "I hope this isn't too much trouble," I said, folding my hands neatly in my lap. Adrian glanced over at me. "Not at all. Honestly, I kind of needed the drive." We were quiet for a while, the swish of the wipers the only sound. The streetlights made the wet pavement shimmer, casting flickering reflections as we moved slowly through the city. I found myself watching him, the way his jaw flexed slightly when he focused, the way a small dimple appeared when he smiled at something on the radio. "You've worked with my dad for a while, haven't you?" he asked eventually. "Almost 20 years. He nodded. "He talks about you a lot. Says the place would fall apart without you." I laughed softly. "Well, someone has to hold the threads together." He smiled at that, but there was something unreadable behind it. Tension. I could feel it even before he spoke again. "He doesn't really know me," Adrian said, more to the windshield than to me. "Not the way people think." I turned in my seat a little. "What do you mean?" Instead of answering right away, he pulled over into a small park's side lot. The rain had softened to a mist, the dashboard casting a soft blue glow across his face. "I'm sorry," he said. "This is going to sound strange. I didn't plan to say anything. But now that we're here, I don't think I can keep it to myself anymore." My breath caught. I expected something about a fight with his father. Breakup. Lost job. But what he said next. "I've thought about you. For a long time." He looked straight ahead as he spoke, his voice steady, unhurried. "I know it sounds crazy. You're older, you work with my dad. I get all that. But every time I saw you at those company events, you stood out. The way you carry yourself, quiet but strong. I don't know, Diane. I just needed to say it. You deserve to hear it from someone who sees it." I didn't speak. Couldn't. The rain had stopped. The only sound was the heater, and my own heart pulsing in my ears. He turned to look at me but didn't move closer. Didn't reach for my hand. His eyes were calm. "Gentle. I'm not expecting anything," he added softly. I just needed to say it out loud. Something stirred inside me. An ache I hadn't known was still there. Not because of the words, but because of the truth they touched inside me. A truth I'd ignored for years. Maybe I still wanted to be seen. Maybe I wasn't as finished as I'd believed. When Adrian dropped me off, it was without fanfare or expectation. Just a polite goodbye. I stood in my foyer for a long time after, coat still on, staring at the closed door. The house felt unchanged, warm lamplight, familiar walls, but something inside me had shifted. His words echoed in my head like a forgotten melody. You deserve to hear it from someone who sees it. The next morning I went through my routine like a ghost. Coffee, feed my cat Lucy, draw back the curtains. I caught myself staring into space more than once, hand still on the coffee pot, heart fluttering from the memory. I avoided Roland at work. I felt oddly exposed, like I was wearing something sheer and revealing, though I was dressed like always. Blouse, cardigan, flats. Midweek, Adrian texted, I hope I didn't make things weird. I'm sorry if I crossed the line. I stared at his message for 5 full minutes before replying. You didn't. Thank you for trusting me with that. I'm still thinking. His reply came minutes later. Take your time. Just wanted you to know. That night, I sat outside on my little porch, wrapped in a shawl, listening to the wind in the trees. I thought about love, not the kind in books or in the arms of someone obvious, but the quiet kind, the kind that makes you feel seen. A few days later, Roland's assistant called in sick. We were short-staffed for a luncheon delivery. I offered to take the documents over myself. When I stepped outside, Adrian was there again, leaning on his SUV, hands in his jacket pockets. Hey Diane. Dad said you might need a driver. He smiled, but it was softer this time. Careful. Are you sure? Yes. He opened the door. Always. The drive was quiet. No music this time. The tension between us had softened. No longer sharp, just delicate. As we pulled up to the client's building, I turned to him. You really meant what you said that night. He met my eyes. Every word. I nodded slowly. That's a lot for me to carry. You're not just your age, he said gently. You're Diane. You're sharp, graceful, and when you laugh, it feels like the room notices. I notice. His words slipped through the walls I'd built with years of habit. I handed him the folder. Our fingers touched. His were warm, steady. I'll be right back, he said. And he was. On the ride back, he didn't push. When we stopped in front of the office, he turned to me one last time. I don't want to confuse you, but I meant what I said. And if all I ever do is remind you how worthy you are, then I'll be glad I did. I paused before opening the door. You did remind me, I said quietly. And I didn't realize how much I needed that. His smile carried something this time. Sadness, maybe. Or hope. That weekend, I couldn't get him out of my mind. I cleaned the spice rack, reorganized books I never reread, trimmed rose bushes already sleeping for winter. Still, the echo of his voice stayed. Then Sunday evening, as I sat by the fire with a book untouched in my lap, my phone buzzed. Are you calm? Would it be okay if I stopped by? My heart stuttered. I knew the risk, but I also knew the cost of saying no. Just for a little while. 20 minutes later, Adrian pulled into my driveway. He stepped out into the mist, wearing a soft gray sweater under his jacket. I opened the door before he could knock. Hi, he said almost shyly. Come in. He looked around as he entered. It's exactly what I imagined. Warm. We sat across from each other in the living room, tea in our hands. The fire cracked gently beside us. I didn't come here for anything more than this, he said quietly. Just to talk. Without the road between us. He nodded. I've spent years thinking that part of me, where someone looks at me like that, was over. And then you did. It's not over, he said. You shine, Diane. You don't even see it. I looked away. No one ever told me that. Not even my husband. You deserve to be told. You always have. Tears came, quiet and unexpected. I walked to the window, watching the mist. My heart's waking up again, I whispered. Behind me, his voice came low. And the other part of you. Turned. He hadn't moved. Still just standing. It wants to know what it's like to be wanted. Even for a moment. Adrian stepped closer slowly. Then let's start there. No games. No pressure. Just feeling. I stepped forward, and so did he, until we stood a breath apart. I don't know where this goes, I said. You don't have to, he replied. You just have to let it. And in that quiet moment, with firelight, rain, and the sound of nothing between us, I did. He didn't touch me, just stood beside me. And that was enough. The days that followed felt gentle, like a slow unraveling of something tightly wound. Adrian didn't overwhelm me. He just showed up. Text. All. Photo of a sunrise. Thursday night he was waiting outside the office again. You look tired, he said. I am. Smiled. But seeing you helps. In the car he asked, what are you afraid of, Diane? That I'll lose myself, I whispered. That I'll want something I'm not allowed to want. He took my hand. You don't have to lose anything. You're allowed to want more. You've given your whole life. Maybe now, it's your turn. I stared at our hands. I don't know what this is, I said. But I don't want to run. Then don't, he said. Let's walk through it together. That night he came in again. We talked for hours. About everything. No pressure. No promises. Just presence. When he asked if I wanted him to leave, I touched his chest gently and said, stay. Just for a while. He understood. And that's how it began. Not with passion but with trust. With quiet hope. With two people years apart but somehow meeting.